Hey there. Today I would like to talk about something that I feel is pretty integral to prepping, and that is self-defense and firearms. So, in Canada, it's very different from what you'll see on most prepping channels. I feel like outside of Canadian prepper, there aren't any other, at least prominent YouTubers in the prepper community. And I don't believe Canadian Prepper has done a video addressing this. If he has, I haven't seen it. Anyways, so in Canada, first thing we gotta know, we have 3 types of firearm classifications and 2 civilian licenses. So, 3 types: non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited. We'll get to those in a second. You have 2 types of licenses in Canada: your PAL, which stands for Possession Acquisition License, and your RPAL, which stands for Restricted Possession Acquisition License. And those are the 2 available to civilians. Now, what do these classifications mean? Non-restricted is any rifle or shotgun that is not prohibited or non-restricted. Or prohibited or restricted. Now, restricted firearms are handguns that are not prohibited, so they're not on the prohibited list, or a firearm that is not prohibited, has a barrel length of 47 centimeters or less, and is capable of firing centerfire ammunition in a semi-automatic manner. So that's restricted. And any of those 2 you can own in Canada. Now we move to the prohibited list, which are firearms that you cannot buy, but as far as I know, you can still possess as long as they were passed down to you. Or you already had them before the ban was in place. So, restricted firearms. A handgun prohibited. Prohibited firearms. A handgun that has a barrel length of 10 centimeters or less, or is 32 or 25 caliber rounds, with the exception of some sport shooting guns for handguns. The other type of restricted firearms prohibited firearms are rifles that have been modified to be sawed off. So they're sawed off and they are below 66 centimeters, or if they're above 66 centimeters, but the barrel length is less than 45.7 centimeters. Under this category also follows fully automatic firearms, even if they've been converted to being semi-automatic, and any firearm that is just arbitrarily prohibited, like the AR-15. So, we've got these 3 types of firearms. Now, getting into where you can carry them, how you store them, etc., go over really quickly. Non-restricted firearms can only leave the house if they are going to a range and you have prior permission from the RCMP. Or if you're a sports shooter, going to sports or transporting locations. But you need to have prior, this goes for any prohibited weapons you own too. You need to let them know and get it approved first. Now, what does this mean for SHTF? Well, it means that if it's not a complete disaster, you cannot bring your non-restricted firearms with you, because if you get stopped by, let's say we go into martial law, and the military's out, everyone's being stopped, they're trying to control the flow of everyone. Well, if they search you and they find your non-restricted firearms, they're going to seize you, and take all of your non-restricted firearms as well. So that's for transportation. But if you have non-restricted firearms, you can just bring them anywhere, as long as they're not loaded. So, then you have automatic weapons, which also need to have, if they're being transported, they need to you need to remove the bolt not the bolt, sorry, the, shit, what's it called? Alright, I'll skip that part out. Okay. So, self-defense laws in Canada. I'll go over them very quickly here. I'll leave links in the description to all of these sources. They're right off the government websites. So, self-defense is essentially you need to apply a reasonable amount of force in a situation that you have reasonable enough belief that this person was intending to cause you or someone else harm. So a reasonable amount of force, what that means is if they don't have a weapon of some sort, if they are not attacked, like if they're not attacking you, or if they pose little danger. So let's say someone just breaks into your house with a baseball bat. Shooting them in the head or the chest, killing them, the chest, intentionally killing them is what I'm trying to say. Intentionally killing them is illegal because they do not pose a threat. Now, these are all depend on the courts as well. So they might find that as murder, and you would be charged with murder if you did something like that. If someone who posed very little threat, you used lethal force. Now, if someone breaks into your house at night with weapons and, let's say, a firearm or whatnot, then yes, I would say, I'm not a legal expert, by the way, so don't consult me, but I would say, and the courts have ruled recently, that someone breaking into your house with a firearm is reasonable grounds to use lethal force. There's a case out in Alberta or Saskatchewan, I can't quite remember, but where that was the case. Now, what does this mean for preppers? Well, basically it means that if it's not a complete collapse, you need to leave behind your restricted firearms. This limits you to mainly hunting rifles and shotguns. What you can do instead is you can find good alternatives. So you may not be able to bring AR-15s are banned, but similar type of rifles, you can't bring that. So if you want rifles that are lightweight and you can count on them, you can only get a 22. I'm not quite sure if they make other rounds like 9mm in a rifle format that would be considered non-restricted. I would have to look into it. But if you are prepping in Canada, these are the kind of firearms I would recommend you get first. It's always good to have, your restricted firearms, things like an AR-15. By that name they're banned, but you can get basically the exact same rifle and different brands. So if you want, if you're getting a firearm, what I would recommend, and if you want a restricted firearm, get your non-restricted firearms first. Find good ones that you like, of common ammo types if you're looking to prep. Because these, you could just throw in your car and leave. And unless they are seizing all guns, if it's in martial law where, let's say they're checking everyone's in the city, and they're not just seizing all guns, but they're looking for criminals and stuff like that. We had something like that, or terrorists. We had that in Ottawa back in the 70s or 80s, I think. But things like that, then it would be all right to bring your non-restricted firearms, and you can just say, oh, we're just going out of the city for a while, stuff like that. And you would be fine unless they were just seizing everyone's firearms, which they very well might. But in a total collapse, I would definitely want semi-automatic rifles, not hunting rifles to defend my family. Anyway, so that's just been a brief overview of firearms in Canada, how they're kind of classified, and what I would recommend to you for being prepared. Thanks for listening. If I was incorrect about any information or I misunderstood it or whatnot, please tell me in the comments. And I hope you gained something out of listening today. So have a nice day.